There is one more reason why Puerto Rican women became sterilized, and that was the migration in the 1950s. One of the women in the documentary I made about this subject, she said that she became sterilized because she was going to move to New York, and she was going to be working there, and she could not have children, that she needed to control her childbearing capabilities so that she could make a good life for herself and her family in New York. So when we connect migration and sterilization as a public policy, we can add that many women became sterilized so that they could migrate. And in this huge wave of migration that took place in the late 40s and especially in the decade of the early 50s. Aside from this public policy, which I consider a crime and a public policy experiment that resulted in this mass sterilization of women, there are other kinds of experimentation that has taken place here in Puerto Rico, and specifically on women, and particularly with the contraceptive pill invented by Pincus. He was a scientist, a researcher in Boston, and he came up with a contraceptive pill. And where did he test those contraceptive pills? In Puerto Rico and in India. I had the opportunity to interview two women who had taken the pills in the 1950s when the experiment was being done here in Puerto Rico. And these two women were not informed that that was experimental. That is, you can see those testimonies in my documentary. And I was the one who told them. And it was very difficult for all of us, the crew, the film crew, because their reaction was so, and one of them got enraged, and the other one was like, had this pain in her face. And one of them had an experience where she took the pill and she almost fainted because it affected her. But one of the things is that the experimental pill had like 10 times the amount of hormones, the content that prevents a woman from getting pregnant. It had 10 times as much as the pills that we have today. So, of course, this was going to affect them in some way. And one interesting thing about this pill experiment is that they made it a longitudinal study, which means that they would continue studying these women and their offspring until the women died. It is called a longitudinal study, and it involved many different factors. They were testing many different factors, among which the one that really stood out for me was that they were studying the intelligence quotient, the IQ of the offspring of the women who took these horrible pills. It was very sinister kind of research, and it was a complete crime, total abuse. These women were not informed, and that is something that has to be, this part of our history has to be disseminated. So I congratulate the organizers of this tribunal.